And we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to live coverage of Division 1, round number 2. We're here at the Shanghai International Circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix. My name is ISRL. I'm great to be back with you, ladies and gentlemen, as we get set for action in Q1 here at Shanghai. Of course, joined once again by Fallen Monkeys in the commentary booth, and we come off the heels of an incredible Austrian Grand Prix where we saw Sweet Crown 19 somehow snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, and now can he continue it on, this time as he enters into his first actual qualifying session of the season where he can actually participate. It's going to be an interesting one, but nonetheless, thank you everybody joining us live right now on the YouTube channel as we are getting underway with the first part of qualifying, and that is Q1. All the drivers able to participate in the first session to see if they can make it into the top 15 right now. As let's go over that grid order a little bit, because we do have a few new drivers on the grid. Fallen, can you talk us through those guys?
Yeah, of course. So for the most part, when I'm looking at the grid, it's a lot of familiar faces. Mostly we've got a full grid of our normal drivers, but of course, keep an eye on the Racing Point team. We've got sorry, I need to read this here. Kurt Valletta, who's currently in the pits, covering for Owen Ole, who wasn't able to make it here in this week. And of course, in the Renault car as well, we have Ver_Dream Indigo, as I think I'm going to call him Dream Indigo here, who's equally in the Renault car, covering for, who's acting as a, oh my goodness, excuse me, a reserve for Infamous Pillars, who is not here today for the Chinese Grand Prix. But other than that, more or less the drivers we're familiar to seeing here in the Tier 1 Championships, so expect the battles to pick up here in these later stages of qualifying and even in the race, I would say. Definitely
watch out for Dream Indigo. Dream Indigo currently signed with Virtual Esports Racing. That is a pretty prominent esports team. Definitely expect him to perform well in this reserve role right now with the Renault, because he definitely has a lot of pace in him. I definitely expect him to be in the top 5 at least. I'm putting a bold prediction out there. As long as everything goes well, he's definitely a very talented driver. So definitely somebody to watch out for as well. But as he said, also Kurt Valletta in the Racing Point, still in the pit lane, mind you, so he has yet to come out and start a lap. Josh, too, was supposed to be the first driver to get a lap underway, and let's see, in fact, if he's going to get us with a lap, and he is going to set the pace right now for 1:43.8, and those times are just about to fly, as we'll see more times come across the board. Jerome Vasseur looks like, or Sweet Crown 19 actually is also on a lap. Eklund currently fastest, 1:43.4. Total P's is still on a lap. He's going down the long, what would be DRS straight. Mind you, of course, there's rainfall, so that's not the case at the moment. Isaac Kush goes even faster, 1:42.5. As let's see if we can ride on board with anybody right now. Let's get on Total P's, because he's about to be finishing his lap in the McLaren. Comes across the line, going to go third fastest in the McLaren with a 1:43.4. Callis is going to be just behind him, 1:43.6. So right now it's a second row if there was a Q3 session at the moment, or short qualifying session, mind you. And there is Dream Indigo immediately shedding some pace, 1:43 flat, so that puts him third fastest for only of a second now, as he was second, but then Chappelle goes faster, 1:42.7, 2/10 of a second slower than Isaac Kush. So the time's starting to fly right now, as Sweet Crown 19 only going 9th fastest, so he must have had a problem, because that is 4 seconds adrift of Andon's time, so he may have had a back off, and we may see him go again for another lap in a second here, as definitely with the rain, your fuel doesn't go down nearly as much, so expect drivers maybe to do a couple of runs on the intermediate tire. In fact, you may want to, as the inters tend to do better once a couple laps are in them, where they're able to get up to temperature. So definitely expect maybe a few runs on these particular runs instead of just one and done and then into the pit lane.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, just going back on Sweet Crown 19's time with that, the 1:48.2, I think that is the case.
And there we go. DRS just been enabled, so I believe we're going to be switching to dry tires in this session very soon.
Yeah. So that's going to make things interesting, because I'm riding with Sweet Crown 19 here on his lap with the intermediate tires. He did set a purple second sector, but of course I believe that is a personal best, so with the time he currently has, maybe not overly difficult to beat. But he's still using his ERS, so I think he's going to be coming around and finishing another lap, so we're going to get a bit of a better idea of what he can do. Now, I know Dream Indigo, you were talking about him, very, very fast driver. Looks like he's potentially finishing up another lap now. Riding on board with him earlier, he did have a lockup at the hairpin, so definitely some time to be found, as I don't think he improved.
No, I don't think he
improved. I don't think it was by much.
He's pretty full on his ERS, so I think if anything, he'd be going for another lap. I don't know necessarily if that's the right smart move. I know it looks like it's still raining out there, but DRS was enabled, so...
Now the rain has actually stopped now,
yeah,
as I'm riding on board with Dream Indigo.
There's no spray coming from those intermediate tires, so definitely going to have to make a pit stop soon. To be fair, though, he does go fastest in the first sector, but that is probably due more so just the fact that it is dry in general, not so much it's the intermediate tires. That time will definitely be beaten very quickly. Fallen, you want to talk us through some of the pointers to look out for? How's the championship looking right now in Division 1?
So when I'm looking at the championship in Division 1, of course, after the amazing showing we saw last week, Suicro 19 leading the way with the full 40 points. But of course, as I said last week, and as I'm probably going to continue to say, keep an eye out on Chapelelli, who's just right behind in second with 33 points, and Suicro 19's teammate Josh too as well into third. Of course, we've only had one race right now, so a lots can change here, but definitely want to keep an eye on those three I mentioned. Izat Kush as well. He's definitely shown he's got the pace, even more so here into Season 4, as I think during the off-season, Izat Kush put in a lot of work, trying to find a lot of pace, and has paid dividends for him early on in Formula Fridays, here in Division 1 as well, and actually he's currently sitting here at the top position in this qualifying 1 session, after the initial intermediate tires. Now looking as well, Do Will for the Red Bull team, finishing out the top 5, at least as far as last race is, currently in mid-pack, but I do expect these times to drop a lot more now that we're going to be seeing some, oh my goodness, some dry weather running. Now looking at the constructors, Williams Racing leading the way, that is Suicro 19, and Josh too with a grand total of 68 points. Now, this is where things get interesting. In this battle for second, we've got Alfa Romeo with 43 points, and the AlphaTauri team with 40 points right behind. So between those two teams, expect to see them very neck and neck in terms of that battle, but also looking to close up to the Williams Racing team that is leading the way after one race.
So right now, actually, the only driver on dry tires is Knight, it looks like, at least currently going to be setting times. So he just passes right there Dream Indigo, who's still out on those intermediate tires. So interestingly enough, Dream Indigo still hasn't yet made his pit stop. There's about 8 minutes left to go in the session. It's not the quickest time around this track, about a 1 minute 30 on the dries. So do expect for him to make his pit stop. So he is sitting third fastest, but that will quickly be evaporated as more drivers come out onto what is the soft tire. I presume they'll try to set their times on. ISRL Knight will be the first person to be coming around for a lap. Let's actually ride on board with the Red Bull driver. This is a very rare opportunity where we just get to get one single lap out on track. He comes across the line, and here we go. Here's a lap of the Shanghai International Circuit. It's a very interesting turn number 1, a elevating right-hand turn that almost forces you to go wide as you go outward and then back inward into the apex. Back on the power, then quickly back on the brakes. A bit of a lockup. You have to keep it tight, and then back on the power early. Don't put it on too hard. You'll have a little bit of wheel spin coming out of there, and now this is towards the end of Sector 1, and then it's a hard braking zone coming into the turn, where then you come to a sweeping left-hand turn. A little easy to spin the car if you're not too careful. You have to let up a little bit and then full speed throttle. Don't clip the curb and don't over-rotate the car, or else you're going to be spinning around there. And then a very interesting braking zone right there, coming into these quick 2 left-hand turns. And then the final sector. It's another hard braking zone. It's uphill, very easy to lose the back end of the car. And of course, Knight is going purple in both sectors with those new soft tires and this very new dry track. And now coming on to what is now a DRS straight, and there is the DRS board right there. You'll be using a bunch of overtake on this straight for sure to possibly pass your opponent coming down into the hairpin, a very hard braking zone. You don't want to actually clip too much of the curb here. It makes you go a little deep, and he does go still a little bit deep. Clipping the curb there a little bit, don't want to be doing too much of that. And then the final turn, you can really cut the last turn a lot. He doesn't do it right there necessarily. It's a 1:33.0, which is currently going to be the fastest time of the session, but I definitely think we're going to be seeing a lot of improvements there, as a few drivers are now on their outlaps on that soft compound tire. We'll see if anybody is venturing out onto the mediums, but I suspect most drivers are going to go on to the soft tires and try to get the best lap in. But there's only 5 minutes left to go in the session. Still a lot of people in the pit lane. This is a very interesting development here, Fallen. I'm a little surprised we haven't seen so much urgency, unless maybe they don't want to make it too crowded out on track. And possibly risk a collision of somebody, or possibly just have your lap ruined.
But yeah, I mean, that could be the case, but at the same time, if all these drivers are going to be waiting till the end of the session, maybe looking at setting a one and done lap when the track is at its quickest, as just Jerome Vasseur setting a 1:31.0, so maybe a time a bit more representative of the Tier 1 pace, maybe even on the slower side, I would say. But of course, if they're all, as I was saying, if they're all going to come out at the same time, they're still going to run into traffic amongst one another. It's just, instead of running into the traffic here with 5 minutes to go in the session, they'll be running into traffic with maybe 2 minutes, 1 minute to go in the session, when you really only have that one chance to get a lap done. But at the same time, given the timing left here with 5 minutes to go, you don't necessarily want to be out on track too early, because realistically, given the way... Oh,
and there's a bit of a spin from Andon. He's ventured onto the medium tires. The mediums are a tricky tire here at Shanghai. A little bit. Oh, and that's a big crash! And into that was VR46. He hit the back of Andon, who had come back on track after the spin, and a massive crash. That has put Jarno out of this session with one of the tires off of the car, and that's going to be a big discussion after the race of what to do about that one. And on the racing line, it looked like Jarno must have been on a hot lap, because nonetheless, VR46 Jarno does not get a chance to set a time at all after that collision, and I presume that Andon may also get a 5-place grid penalty with the collision because of that. But there's going to be bigger discussion after this particular qualifying, because that was a big accident. Not very rare to see accidents that high speed in qualifying.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is a very high-speed section, and when we were riding with Nightix, you were talking about that corner. You don't want to get too hasty through the very quick swooping left-hander, or else what happened to Andon is exactly what's going to happen. You'll lose the back end, lose the car, and basically lose out on a lap, as Kurt Villella goes fastest now with a near 130 flat. But crucially now for Andon, when that happens, you need to be aware of other drivers around you when you're coming on track, because now, along with this, what I'm going to assume is going to be a 5-place grid penalty, as you mentioned, the stewards are definitely going to be wanting to look into this in the report, so there might be even further repercussions for Andon for unsafely rejoining the track during qualifying, especially since it directly affected another driver, because now VR46 is out of qualifying, doesn't even have a chance of trying to make it through into Q2, and is going to be having to start from all the way down in 19th place now for the start of the race.
That is, of course, given that anybody else doesn't have an accident. Total P sets into the 129. Sweet Crown 19 goes fastest with a 129.5. I'm riding on board right now with Isaac Kush, who has gone fastest in the second sector and is now coming through that banked turn that leads onto the DRS straight, and riding on board of him. And is he got the DRS? He does have the DRS open, so it's a little interesting about that. The DRS doesn't start immediately at the beginning of the straight, actually goes a little almost halfway. Then coming into the hairpin, and pretty much perfect through there, as we're going to see him come into the final turn, using up as much of the curve. Oh, but an invalidation. He went too wide, and that's the thing there. If you don't really cut a lot of the corner, you're kind of forced to go wide out of the exit, and if you go a little too wide, it's going to be an invalidation. And now the problem with that is that not only has that invalidated this particular lap, but it's invalidated the last lap. So Isaac Kush actually has to press on the gas pedal a little bit right now, because he's on a on a wet time, and he has an invalidation. So if he does not get around for another lap, we might say Isaac Kush out of this session.
Yep, and well, that's the thing, and especially with now the dry times starting to fall, every driver behind is on a lap as well. I mean, Chapelelli did invalidate the lap he's currently on, but he's right at the end of the lap, so as long as he doesn't do it again, he should be on pace for setting another lap, and it looks as if this time around it should be a good lap, barring any other invalidations. But now he's at Kush. I don't know if he's going to have enough. Oh no, he should have enough time, I would think now.
Yeah, it looks good. About 40 seconds. Yeah, it's going to be close for sure. But he should be okay to make it into the next session. Riding on board of Indigo, he's got some traffic. In fact, it's his teammate Eklund who's ahead of him, who quickly gets out of the way not to impede his particular lap. Eklund is pretty safe into the next session with that 130.2. Isaac Kush is about to come around to the final turn, so luckily able to set another time, and he's going to come across the line with 10 seconds left to go in the session. So very lucky to make it around again after that double invalidation. Chappelle has gone fastest in the second sector. I'm riding on board of Indigo, though. He's about to come into the final turn. Let's see what the Renault driver can do in his first qualifying session here in ISRL Esports. Coming across the line, it's going to be third fastest for Indigo, so it's a 129.522. Look at the splits from the top three. Rotation, second fastest, 129.516. Only 4 thousandths of a second slower than Sweet Crown 19. Really impressive stuff right there. But we are running on board of Chappelle, who is about to come across the line as he comes out of the final turn, and there he goes, fastest on track with a 129.341, and that's the fastest time of the session as Q1 is over. There's still some drivers on times right now, I believe, and Knight gets some pickup from Du Will down the straight as he's coming in for one more lap. We'll see if that helps him enough to make it into the next session as he's gunning it into the final turn right here. Knight, can he make it into the next session? It's going to be close, and I think he's going to make it. And no, so close. And it's thousandths of a second slower than Eklund, who I said was safe. Well, he was very, very close to unsafe, because that's going to be 15th for him. But Isaac Kush is going to go sixth fastest, save himself from elimination. That's going to put Eklund out of the session. Jerome Vasseur makes it into the next session. It's a very different qualifying here for some of our drivers, but nonetheless, Chappelle has gone fastest. Sweet Crown 19, second fastest. Third fastest rotation. Dream Indigo, fourth fastest, and Ferg has put himself into the top 5 fastest drivers. But that was a very interesting qualifying session. Unfortunately for Knight, not able to make it into the next session. And then even worse, he was dropped down even more after Isaac Kush saved himself from elimination. And unfortunately, that means that Eklund, who I said was safe, was not safe at all. He quickly got dropped down. In fact, you can see right there a lot of 129s. And this to confirm there, Andon does have a 5-place grid penalty after that collision with the Ferrari of VR46 Yarno. So we're going to see where he puts his car in this particular qualifying session. But then to go over the rest of the grid order, it's Isaac Kush, Total Peach, Josh 2, Du Will, Andon, Kurt Valletta, Callis, Feral Fury, Jamie, and Vasseur. Eklund, Knight, Carter, Yarno, and Sophion are not in the are not going to be making it in. I believe Sophion is serving another qualifying ban, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so. I'll go and double check that just to make sure. I did see as well there was a little bit of connection issue. I saw some joining and leaving from Sophion earlier in this qualifying 1 session, so potentially could be some connection as well. But just bear with me as I quickly run and confirm that.
Nonetheless, we're into the second qualifying session. The sun has decided to come out now as we are getting ready for another round of qualifying action. So Q2 is the top 15, and the top 15 are going to try to make it into the top 10 and possibly make it onto pole position in Q3. The big thing, though, is the fastest time you set, which is whatever tire you set that time on. That is the tire you're going to start the race with. So, of course, the strategy becomes into play here. We expect most drivers are going to do a soft to hard tire strategy. I believe that would be the better situation, given that the tire wear here in China is quite high. So I'd expect a soft to hard run for most drivers. If not, there is the soft medium strategy, but you definitely, of course, do have to stop again. The hard tires don't really lose their competitive grip until near the very end of the race, so I'd expect that the soft to hard tire would be the optimal strategy for most drivers into the next session. But nonetheless, we have a few drivers already on outlaps. Kurt Valletta is actually pretty far into his outlap, and we'll see how they fare now with some more sunny conditions. The track temperature is going to get higher, and we heard of drivers complaining a lot about the tire temperatures in previous practice sessions that I've been a part of, and of course myself as well, complained a lot. Track temperatures have caused these tires to get pretty hot, and a few drivers have not been able to get the tires in an optimal operating window, and they're either very, very hot, or if it's too wet, sometimes they're too cold.
Yeah, but that's actually, it's going to bring out a bit more of an interesting play here. In terms of which driver can best manage their tire temperatures in order to maximize the pace as well as possibly the tire wear. As you said, this track here around China is not really known to be the best on the tires, as you had mentioned. So it's going to make things interesting for the likes of some of these top runners on who can potentially manage their tires better. Now, I don't think we're going to see too many two-stops, barring any incidents on the track that bring out those safety cars. But, I mean, I would not be surprised potentially maybe seeing a reverse strategy, maybe going a hard to soft, just so that way you're not involved with the pit stop strategy. Maybe look to go that much longer and grow that gap while everybody's fighting in pit stop, fighting for positions, and then just take that pit stop near the end and try to push on those soft tires the last few laps to try to get a bit of a better showing. But of course, I feel that's a strategy we're going to see a bit more from some of the drivers who qualify a little bit further down the order. Maybe those drivers who are knocked out of qualifying 1 or finish near the bottom of this qualifying 2 session. Maybe not as much from the drivers near maybe P10 or P11, 12, and 13 or so, I don't think.
I think, right, because the big thing is the tire performance difference between the softs, the mediums, and the hards is actually quite high. Each tire definitely has a easy advantage over a certain other tires. So I think if you're a driver who expects to be in the top 10, trying to qualify on a tire like the hards is going to be rather difficult. Kurt Valletta has gone fastest, but we definitely expect faster times than that at the moment. But nonetheless, 1:30.2, the pace setter here. But, yeah, I don't think that a lot of drivers in the top 10, if they're expecting top 10s, they're going to be Josh 2 actually has an invalidation there. He's going to be the next driver to cross the line, but we'll see who's next. Rotation's actually in slipstream right now with his teammate. But, yeah, so, again, I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of alternative strategies if you're definitely an expected top 10 driver, given that it's so very close to make it into the next session of all the times. Indigo, though, sets a pretty daft 1:38. That's not a time representative of what you'd expect. Rotation has gone second fastest. He had a fastest third sector, but it's still about a 10th adrift of Kurt Valletta. So Kurt Valletta actually setting so far an impressive time, given some of the other drivers behind him, who we know can definitely go a little faster, have not been able to connect all the dots. Josh, too, had a problem because he went wide, so both laps are invalidated. So those soft tires are going to be rather used up when he decides to get another run in. So I suspect that Josh, too, is going to pit in again for another set of soft tires because, again, like we've said, degradation is very, very high, especially for the softs. I wouldn't be surprised if those soft tires are already near 7 or 8%, given how fast they degrade here at Shanghai.
Yeah, but crucially, at least you're in these the early to mid stages of this qualifying too. Lots of drivers out on the medium tires to set their first laps of the session. I mean, notable, of course, Rotation set that 130.3 on the medium tires. His teammate Schiaparelli, who's now getting a tow himself from his teammate, also on the medium tires. And even, I mean, it's really just Kurt Valletta, Josh Tu, and Isaac Kush right now who have put on the soft tires. But of course, they're all in the pits. But I do think, really, to be quite honest, going in near the end of the session, we're probably going to see more soft tires come out because in terms of strategy, if you're going to start on the medium tires, you don't really have... There's not really much of a strategy you can go to. You're kind of committing to a two-stop unless you do a mediums to hards. But of course, if you're going to do a mediums to hards, why not just do a soft to hards and get that better pace on those soft tires rather than the slightly slower medium tires?
That's exactly what I'm thinking as well. Meanwhile, Chappelle has gone fastest at the moment in the session of a 130 flat, about 80 hundredths of a second, or sorry, 80 hundredths of a second over that flat mark. Rotation sits third fastest. I have to notice that between the Alfa Romeos and the Williams, which are expected constructor favorites right now, with Williams in the lead, you definitely see maybe a little bit more teammateship ism, as created that word out of the blue, between Chappelle and Rotation. Definitely see two drivers who, while of course definitely want to compete for their own rights and get further up the grid on their own right and battle for the Drivers' Championship, you definitely see a little bit more teammate camaraderie and trying to win this Constructors' Championship. Of course, Williams winning it last season with the helps of Feral Fury and Sweet Crown 19. Feral Fury is in the Haas car this year. Josh, too, who was in the Ferrari last season, has gone into the Williams. So it's definitely a very powerful group at Williams, but I don't think it's two drivers who necessarily are going to work well together, given that they are both very fast drivers and definitely want to have the best results possible. I think that Chappelle and Rotation have it seemed at least to have worked a little bit better so far in round two.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that as well in terms of the Alfa Romeo drivers, Chappelle, Rotation. They're working together as a team, but I think as much as they want to get the better of one another in the races in terms of the best positioning, I think when they're looking at the bigger picture of the constructors' standings, I think they have an understanding that as much as they want to battle amongst each other, they've got a bigger fish that they need to catch and overtake, which is Sweet Crown 19 in that Williams Racing, the three-time defending champion for Division 1 at ISRL. So I think they want to be the team that takes down that defending champion. So I think really that's sort of where the teamwork and the camaraderie is coming along with them. And once they've, it's a big if, they can overtake and take down that Sweet Car 19. I think that's when we'll truly start seeing the battle, the inter-team battle, as who can get the better of who for the bragging rights on the team for that first driver's seat.
So nonetheless, as just going through all the interactions of ISRL Esports today, and I'm missing all my Dogecoin rise right now as we're in qualifying session. Apparently it's rallying. I haven't looked at it, but nonetheless, let's see if we can have some other drivers rally and go into the top 10. We are actually seeing a bit of teamwork right there with the Williams outfit, so they did give each other some slipstream. that was Josh 2 on a hot lap. So you're starting to see the Williams outfit turn some heads with some teammateship right there, as Josh 2 is going to come across the line, but he's only going to go 5th fastest behind rotation, and crucially, of course, behind both of the Alfa Romeos. Sweetcar 19 actually goes into the pits. He's on that medium compound tire, so very interesting right there. Sweetcar 19 is going to have to get out a little quickly because, again, the lap times are not super short here. So he's definitely going to have to get out quickly if he wants to set another lap, and that is going to be one final lap for him.
Yeah, and of course another driver who's equally wants to put his name into that hat for the battle for the lead is Isaac Kush, who's currently up into second right now with a time of a 1:30.177 set on the medium tires. But when I'm looking at the there's a lot of drivers on track, lots of drivers who have opted to keep the medium tires fitted for the time being. Now, there is still 4 minutes to go in qualifying as, there's a little bit of traffic here. Okay, nothing to be worried about. Just letting CRL Ferg go through on his flying lap, I believe. But still, lots of drivers who have kept the medium tires on.
It looks like all the best times are on medium tires, actually. So I'm gonna throw my original strategy down the toilet there. It looks like most drivers want to start on the medium tires, so they're not confident in those soft tires post qualifying at the start of the race. Which, to be fair, I don't completely blame them. And if everybody's going to be doing that medium tire strat, then it's not too bad for anybody who decides they want to do softs. Kurt Valletta is the only driver right now, actually, who would start on the soft tires if he stays in the top 10. And what a start that would be for him to make it into the top 10. Jamian does not decide to improve, so he's fine within where he is right now, which is currently 12th, may go down at position if other drivers do not get out in time, or do get out in time and set some faster lap times. But he has decided not to try to go into the top 10. But as we were saying, Kurt Valletta, the only driver currently on the softs with his best time in this session. So it's going to be interesting for him. I would recommend he get out very quickly and get out with a medium tire run, just actually because of the fact that you want to be with the other drivers. I think in this particular situation, if you're the one odd person out, you're going to be suffering pretty hard strategy-wise, as you're going to have to pit a lot sooner than everybody else.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But I do think, as I've mentioned this in the past, and I think it might be one of those things where once one of these drivers, or one or two of these drivers, do go out and set their times on the soft tires, we might see the rest of the order just follow suit.
Well, actually, we have a few drivers coming out already right now.
Yeah, like that's the likes of Callis, currently on the bubble right now in 10th. He put on the soft tires on an out lap, and even Andin and your own Vasseur are on their out laps on the soft tire as well. Phil Fury looking to go out and do another lap on the medium tires, interestingly enough. So a little bit of a different strategy call here. Even now, it looks like Ferg's on an out lap on the soft tires. So I think now we're starting to see some of these drivers put on the soft tires and sacrifice maybe that more ideal strategy for the sake of making it through into qualifying 3 to get that best qualifying position.
But it's interesting. So, I mean, Sweetcar 19 went back out onto the mediums, so I guess he's hoping that the track has evolved enough to set a quicker time. Maybe that 1:30.4 wasn't representative for his time. But if he doesn't improve, I mean, you got Ferg on the softs, Total P's is on the mediums, but he still could possibly improve, and Callis is on softs, so Feral Fury also, who was it? It's Andin who's on the soft tire. So there is a possibility Sweetcar could be in trouble here if he doesn't improve again on those medium tires. So we'll have to wait and see how this goes for him, but this could be interesting given the choice of some drivers, Andin and Jerome Vasseur, both on soft compound tires. Of course, if any of them have an invalidation, then that's it, it's over. But this could get interesting here, folks, so just stay tight because we have some drivers who are looking to shake it up a little bit. Let's get the detail actually with the fitted tires. So it's Ferg on the softs, Callis on the softs, and again, Andin and Jerome Vasseur on soft compound tires. Sweetcar 19 deciding to go out back onto the medium tires.
Yeah.
Josh 2 also on the soft compound tire. So alternate strategies right now for, but Josh 2 has invalidated both of his laps.
Ooh,
so he did not.
Still sitting in 5th. But I just want to say, we were talking about teamwork earlier on here in this qualifying 2 session. I was seeing Suicron19 on his outlap, slowing up a lot down the back straight to allow his teammate to catch up and actually get ahead of him. So maybe Suicron19 on those medium tires, hoping for a little bit of help from his teammate on that softer tire to maybe pull him around the circuit a little bit and just eke out a few more tenths of a second from his time. As he's going around and setting his final lap time on these medium tires.
Now, the session is over, but Josh 2 apparently still has control of his car, so that is rather important. I thought he didn't cross the line in time, but nonetheless, Josh 2 is still in control. Andon has gone second fastest, so quickly the times are starting to fly. Andon in a different position, so Josh 2 really slows up, and there we go. Suicron19 going to get some slipstream from his teammate. I don't know if he's going to get enough, though. Yeah, he is going to get plenty of slipstream, but he's not as close. Jerome Vasseur has gone fastest on track, 129.9, and Suicron19 is in trouble here, as look at that, Josh 2 just goes way wide, so he doesn't even attempt to set a faster time. Josh 2 has gone down the 7th fastest, though, on track, so this could be interesting. Suicron into the pits. Suicron into the pits. But he's safe.
He's aware that he was safe.
He's safe. Callis, one of those drivers didn't improve enough on that soft tire, and it looked like Callis was the driver who didn't go faster than he would have liked. He was in the 131s on that previous time on the medium, so Callis just didn't get enough time to go faster. So, thankfully for Suicron, he is able to make it into the next session, but Total P's, maybe a bit of a surprise, not make it into the next session. That is very probably upsetting for Total P's, who was expecting to be in the top 10, but now he's going to be right alongside his teammate in 11th position.
Yeah, but crucially, he does get that, as a consolation prize, the best of the rest in P11, so he is the lead driver who does get that free choice of tires going into the race. So maybe it could involve a bit of a strategy call for his end as well.
Nonetheless, let's go over that grid order. Ferg actually goes fastest with 129.3. Jerome Vasseur second. FRO Shepalelli in 3rd position. Andon in 4th. Isaac Kush goes 5th fastest. There's your top 5. Kurt Valletta 6th fastest. 7th rotation. Josh 2 in 8th. Dream Indigo 9th, and Suicron19 just makes it into the next session. Total P's missing it in 11th, 12th for Callis, Duo in 13th, 14th for Feral Fury, and Jamian is the slowest out of the top 15, and he will start in 15th position. So that is it for the first 2 qualifying sessions. Now it's time for Q3. This is where the horsepower is ranked to the maximum, where the drivers put on their new sticky soft tires and they get ready to set the fastest laps you have ever seen in qualifying here to set a pole position time to start first in this race. So it's Suicron, Josh 2, Jerome Vasseur, Ferg, Rotation, Kurt Valletta, Andon, Isaac Kush, Shepalelli, and Dream Indigo. There are your drivers who are going for pole position here today. Let's see who gets it, and Suicron19 is the very first driver out here in qualifying on those soft compound tires. Thank you so much for joining us. You're watching live coverage of Division 1 action for the Chinese Grand Prix, round number 2 of 16 in the Season 4 Championship. And I, of course, am ISRL. You're joined today by me and Fallen Monkeys in the commentary booth. And this is Q3 action. We're going to see who makes it on the pole position here today for a 28-lap Chinese Grand Prix. Some rainfall in qualifying, but it's going to be a dry race, and it should be an interesting one nonetheless. Let's see how it goes.
Yep, definitely excited for the race to see how it goes, but of course, we got to get through qualifying 3 first, and already at least a little bit over half the grid out, setting an outlap at the very least, and expect them to get those flying laps set up. Normally, you see drivers doing maybe 2 true laps. Here in qualifying 3, they'll get at least, as they like to call it, a banker lap in early on, just to get a time on the board and see where they stand in the ranking early on, but then expect them to come out once again near the end of the session, probably with about maybe 2.5 minutes to go, I would say, out on circuit, just so they can get one last lap in right at the end of the session when the track is at its quickest, when the tires and the car is at its quickest as well. But Sweetcar 19 kicking off his flying lap and the first to do so. So we'll see what kind of benchmark he can set to start off this qualifying 3 session.
And it's the Sweet Crown machine which gets the car rolling here, flying through the downhill chicane of Sector 1, back on the power in the white and blue Williams car, bringing back this famous British team back into tip-top shape as he goes fastest in the first sector, but that is quickly beaten by somebody. He's got a few drivers behind him. I believe Indigo is on a lap. So is, it looked like one of the Alfa Romeos, or maybe it's a Ferrari behind him.
Rotation.
Rotation on a lap. Dream Indigo on a lap, but let's right back on board of Sweet Crown, because he is now coming towards the end of Sector 2. As he's going to go fastest, of course. 50.4 is that Sector 2 split, and we'll see if that stands well enough. There is a yellow flag. I believe that Indigo has had a problem on this lap, and he is aborting it at the moment. Nonetheless, Sweet Crown 19 getting a lot of slipstream from his teammate Josh 2. So this is going to be really nice for Sweet Crown 19. He gets almost the entire straight worth of slipstream from his teammate. Braking hard into the hairpin, a bit of a lockup on the front right tire, but nonetheless, here comes Sweet Crown 19 into the final turn, using as much curb as possible, just on the edge of track limits, and it's a 129.4, and that is a blistering lap time from Sweet Crown 19, and now Josh 2 is going to start his first lap of the session, and he'll get some slipstream as well. Rotation has gone faster, though, 129.0, Isaac Kush of a 129.0. The time are really starting to come and end in 129.6. So some very quick lap times right now. Schiaparelli has come across the line. I believe he is starting a lap for the first time in this session. Kurt Valetti is on a fastest second sector. So Kurt Valetti, a bit of a surprise here. It's Kurt Valletta, not Valetti. I'm not too sure why you added an E all of a sudden, but nonetheless, he is setting a very quick time right now with a fastest purple sector in the second sector. So we'll see how the Racing Point driver does. In his first qualifying session in the Racing Point in Season 4, he is on a roll right now in Q3, looking to make it into the top 5 right here, coming into the final turn, using as much of the curb as possible across the line, and it's going to be a 30 flat. So maybe a little slower than he'd like to have been. He's definitely going to want to improve that time because he may be near the bottom of the order. Nonetheless, Josh 2 getting equal amount of slipstream from his teammate as his teammate did give him to him. So here comes Josh 2 coming into the final turn for the Williams outfit. Can he put himself on pole position here today across the line? And it's going to be a 129 flat as well, and it's hundredths of a second slower than Isaac Kush, who is hundredths of a second slower than Rotation, but not by much. The splits are insane right now. Here comes Schiaparelli across the line. What's the Alfa Romeo going to do? And he's going to go into the 128, wow. 128.7, and FRL Schiaparelli is on pole position provisionally with 6.5 minutes left to go into the session. What a lap time from the Alfa Romeo driver. That is incredible.
Yep, and that sets up, at least for the time being, an Alfa Romeo 1-2, but there's still 6 minutes to go, so expect these times to potentially go that much slower. That much quicker, that much lower, I should be saying. But of course, Schiaparelli, he did get a little bit of help from his teammate Rotation down the back straight, but crucially, they didn't have as much of a tow as we saw the likes of Sweet Crown 19 and Josh 2 give one another for the entirety of the back straight. Rotation did get out of the way just a little bit earlier, just to allow for Shap to take the corner without any issues. Now, I was looking at Dream Indigo as he was, actually out on an out lap. I thought he was on a flying lap, but he hadn't validated. But that's not the end of the world there, as just now as he's starting his lap. But now with 5.5 minutes to go, he's going to want to make sure that he's tightened it up, keeping it clean as he's going around, because this might be his, this could potentially be his only chance of getting a lap done, just given that, given the time we have left in qualifying. And it seems as though he's a little bit off compared to the rest of the top 10 in terms of when they're being out on track, opting for, I believe, probably more of a clear track rather than having to maneuver the traffic that can sometimes get in your way and actually hinder more than help on your lap time.
As we're seeing lockup galore, as he has a big lockup right there, mounts the curb a little bit coming into the other left-hand turn before you get towards the end of Sector 3, and it's the first and second sector are not yielding purple sectors for Indigo. So right now, not totally on the pace, but we'll have to wait and see how close he gets to possibly at least into the top 5 he'd like to be in his first session here. Indigo coming down the DRS straight. Of course, as you said, it's a pretty clear track, so not really anybody to worry about in terms of coming in the way, but of course no slipstream at all either. Now coming into the hairpin, braking late, a little bit of a clip of a lockup, but nonetheless he comes into the final turn using a lot of the final turn curb as you can, comes across the line. It's going to be a 129.6, but that's only going to put him 7th fastest, just behind Sweet Crown 19 by about 0.2 of a second. So as you said right there, it's probably going to be his last in fact his only run, as he doesn't really have a lot of time to get back into the pits and out of the pit lane the set number of times. So Indigo may be settling for 7th, if not worse, if somebody behind him sets a quicker time. Andon definitely could. He's only about 0.05 of a second slower. And Kurt Valletta, also a driver we could expect to eke into the 129s, and Jerome Vasseur hasn't even set a time yet, so Indigo might be in some trouble right now, sitting only 7th fastest.
Yeah, but not without a fight though, as he took a bit of the quicker line through turn, I believe that's turn 4 on his in lap, trying to save a few seconds there to try to get back and maybe get out on track for one last lap. But at least now we've got, just jumping back to drivers who are out on a lap. He's at Kush starting a lap, currently in 3rd, hoping to improve on that. And even rotation now, coming to the end of Sector 2. No purple time for him, so I don't think it's going to be faster than his teammates' time. But it could potentially be an improvement, as I don't necessarily have the, I didn't have the splits open to see. But now coming down to the back of Sector 3 into the hairpin, this is a very much of a make-or-break section here, as we've seen in the past.
Oh, too wide. Yeah, too wide into the hairpin right there. That's going to cost him a bundle of time. And he's going to go into the pit lane. I don't think he has enough time. And into the wall right there, as he really overshot it right there. Thankfully right there, so for some reason, you don't pick up any damage coming into that wall there if you don't brake enough. So he is saved, of course, in that particular situation, but because that would almost always be a DNF. But for some reason, you don't pick up damage in that portion of the track if you hit that wall. So he is saved by the F1 game gods right there. But nonetheless, Isaac Kush is on a lap right now, as you said. He's about to come into the final turn, as using a lot of the curb. Right on the riding of the curb is going to be pretty fast, and it's going to be 2nd fastest. So it is a 128.840, and that is split. That split the Alfa Romeos, and Sweet Car 19 goes 3rd fastest, but that might be it for him. And now he's got Indigo in front of him, so Indigo has come out again for another lap, but I don't think Indigo has time to make it around for one more lap. I think this is...
No, I think it was a little too late for him. Just looking at the time now, minute 11, minute 10, given that on these flying laps, we're seeing a minute 28.
Well, Indigo's taking a venturous line, using a alternate track layout right here, and he is going to invalidate there. I think we may see Indigo pick up. I don't know if there's any penalties inclined for cutting major portions of the track.
But I think there's something in the rule book about that in terms of I call it the Monza incidents, where drivers just like to fly by turn 1 and 2 on their out laps and in laps in order to save time. But that's another it's another spot there, as he did that on his in lap as well. As I was talking previously, taking that slightly quicker line, trying to save a few seconds to get to the line faster.
It's interesting. He may be able to make a round for another one. He's got about 20 seconds left to go. I'm going to ride on board of him in this outlap. He's got 20 seconds. He's near the end of the hairpin. If he's going to make it in, it's going to be by a smidgen. As he's got Isaac Kush in front of him, and this might hold him up a little bit. He's got 10 seconds left to go. It's going to be close. Isaac Kush gets out of the way. Only 6 seconds now. It's going to be very, very close. I don't think he's going to have the time to make it across. Comes across the line. No, Vindigo does not make it for another lap. That's only 7th fastest for him. So unfortunately for him, it's not going to be it. FRL Chappelle has gone for another lap, but I think he is just going to go back. Oh, nope, he's going to set this lap. He was about slower by about 1/1000th of a second. He comes across the line. He has gone faster and put himself even more on pole position. 128.697. Unbelievable times. Josh, too, has Ferg has gone second fastest, 128.7. So it's a Ferrari on the front row of the grid, unless somebody else has something to say about it. Valletta is on a lap right now, coming onto the DRS straight. Andon is on an invalidated time, so this will be it for him. Jerome Vasseur has come across to go 9th fastest, so Kurt Valletta currently sitting last right now.
Yeah, but it's all down to him as he's got his one last lap to finish. Came around the hairpin, nothing really wrong with it, but of course, make or break on the last corner. Keeps it clean, maybe could have cut a little bit more.
And he is going to go 9th. 9th fastest for Valletta, so Jerome Vasseur, unfortunately last here. But what a qualifying session for Schiaparelli. He puts it on pole here in Austria, 128.6. with Ferg of a 128.7, so it's a very Italian front row of the grid, but this time it's not the Alfa Romeos, it's Ferrari versus Alfa Romeo. A bit of a classic F1 rivalry right there between two what used to be constructor giants. Alfa Romeo, of course, one of the original top constructors in the 1950s of the Formula One World Championship. Ferrari coming out of the heels of Alfa Romeo, but nonetheless, here we go. Qualifying 3-year results. Schiaparelli has put it on pole position of a 128.6 with CRL Ferg with a 128.7 in second position. Isaac Kush 128.8 in third. Fourth for Sweet Crown 19, 128.9. And it's the top 5 for rotation with a 129 flat. Going down the rest of the grid order, Josh 2 in sixth position. 7th for Dream Indigo. So Dream Indigo stays 7th fastest, saved by the bell. Andon in 8th, 9th for Valletta, and Jerome Vasseur in 10th position. Those drivers not able to improve. Dream Indigo a little bit saved, but of course a bit disappointing. It was not able to get a faster time on the board. I definitely expected him to be in the top 5, but unfortunately maybe some mistakes for him did not yield him a top 5 here in qualifying. But nonetheless, that was Q3, and it's time for the Chinese Grand Prix. Thank you so much for everybody joining us live right now on the YouTube channel. And it is this regular official race time for this race? This is like really early.
Yeah, it's looking to be a bit of an early start here. Almost looks like it's dawn to kick things off. So maybe a little bit of modification with the weather timing here for the start time, but of course I think it might not matter all that much. It could just be the way the cloud cover is covering the circuit as well, as I believe it might just be a mix of clouds and sun to start the race here. But of course we're just taking a bit of a breather before the start of the race. Let the drivers get into the mindset as either Dream Indigo or Total P's are the first to
yeah, Indigo maybe not too understanding of how these rules work, and it's a very quick start to the formation lap. Of course, again, you're watching Division 1 live coverage. The Chinese Grand Prix is about to begin. I'm going to take you guys through the formation lap in what is a very early morning Chinese Grand Prix. I don't know where it is in the morning for you in the world if you're watching live, but it is morning here in China apparently. And yep, it is very early here at Shanghai. And going off the line, it is FRL Schiaparelli who has put himself on pole position for this Chinese Grand Prix in round number 2 of the Division 1 Season 4 Championship. CRL Ferg is on the front row of the grid. Isaac Kush has put himself on the second row of the grid, right next to Sweet Crown 19, winner of last week's Austrian Grand Prix. Rotation is going to round off the top 5. Josh 2 has gone 6th fastest with Dream Indigo, who is going to probably pick up a qualifying ban come the next session, if we see him on the next session, of course. Dream Indigo, 7th fastest. Kurt Valletta, 8th fastest. Jerome Vasseur actually has gone 9th fastest. Of course, we have to remember Andon has that 5-place grid penalty, so that is why we see him in 9th. Total Peas has put himself into the top 10 because of this. He is going to start on the medium compound tire, so it's interesting for Total Peas. He didn't qualify in the top 10, but he still gets a free choice of tire due to that grid penalty. He has found himself in the top 10, so it's rather interesting for Total Peas. Callus, 11th on the grid. CRL Do Will is 12th on the grid. Andon finds himself in 13th after that 5-place grid penalty, though we expect him to pick up a lot more than that. He has already claimed responsibility for that incident in qualifying, so we'll see what the stewards decide post-race. Feral Fury, 14th fastest on the medium tires. Jamian in 15th on the mediums. Eklund on the medium tires in 16th. ISRL Knight is on that hard tire. So there is that alternate hard tire strategy that we were talking about. Knight has decided to do that. We'll see how it works out for him. Carter is 18th fastest. ISRL VR46 Yarna, who crashed in qualifying with Andon, to no fault of his own, really, is going to be in 19th. And again, Sophion is in 20th after not serving in qualifying due to a qualifying ban. So nonetheless, Chappelle coming onto his grid slot. Ferg going to go alongside him. Isaac Kush coming into his third slot, and Sweet Crown 19 alongside him. And the rest of the grid is forming up as we're getting ready for the 5 red lights here at the Shanghai International Circuit. Thank you, everybody, joining us live. It's time for round 2 action. It's the Shanghai International Circuit. It's the Chinese Grand Prix, and that's the final car, the AlphaTauri, lining up right there. There's a predicted pit stop strategy. If you start on the medium tires, medium hard or medium, it have to be a soft. I don't know why it said 3 mediums, but nonetheless, we're waiting for these 5 red lights to come on. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And the lights are out, and away we go here in Shanghai. And it's ISRL Chappelle who gets a great start off the line. Isaac Kush finds himself into second position, side by side of Ferg and ahead of Ferg, coming into turn 2. And Ferg now is going to try to challenge back on the inside, and he makes contact with the AlphaTauri. And a big bundle of cars now backed up because of the contact. That's put rotation up in the third position. Ferg with a pretty bad start. Now Josh 2, look at this 3-way battle. Dream Indigo having some side-by-side contact, and there's a bunch of cars all over the track. Sweet Crown 19 sits 6th fastest, not been the start he would have liked to have had. He still has all of his front wing. I did see one of the end plates coming off of a car. Maybe it was some debris, I'm not too sure, but nonetheless, a pretty crazy start up the top of the grid order. But it's ISRL Chappelle who leads it from Isaac Kush from rotation. Ferg in 4th position. Josh 2 is rounding off the top 5 at the moment. And there's a positions changing down the grid order. Looks like the Haas cars are battling with Callus. There is Feral Fury, who almost gets spun around a little bit right there. Now Duwil trying to make a challenge. Feral Fury having problems on that medium compound tire, not able to get into operating window. Already some problems, and Knight is off track. 5-second penalty with Yarno. Not too sure what happened right there. And Carter now, look at this. So many passes up and down the grid order. Indigo losing it to Andon now, who moves up into 7th position. Callus trying to make a pass on the inside now, making it well before coming into the final turn. And as we ride on board, it looks like it's not Ferg who's in the lead. It is still Chapelelli who is in the lead of this Chinese Grand Prix. Isaac Kush is in 2nd, rotation in 3rd, and it's 4th right now. Looks like I'm not too sure what's going on with the grid order. It's absolutely crazy. Ferg is not in the lead, ladies and gentlemen. I have to tell you that much at least. Let's see when it finally updates. We'll give you a final grid order, but there are a bunch of positions changing right now, and there we go. It is Isaac Kush, rotation in 3rd, Ferg in 4th, and Josh 2 in 5th.
Yep, and just to give a little bit of a nice a fill-in on what happened elsewhere on the track in lap 1, it looked as though Total P's had a moment early on, so he's diving into the pits very early, and Carter got into a little bit of a battle. There was a bit of contact. He spun around, so he fell down the order as well. Now I didn't quite get to see what happened, but I think, as you said, between Knight and VR46 Yarno, I think there might have been just a little bit of a battle on track, maybe some contact, as they both quickly fell down the order.
Nonetheless, though, Chappelle leads this Grand Prix by a pretty comfortable 1.5 second margin. Given how fast some of these drivers are, it can get very enticing here with DRS. But Chappelle has escaped that DRS train, as it tends to come into sometimes here in tracks like Shanghai. If you don't see a lot of passing, it's definitely a DRS train nonetheless. We're on lap number 3, so that means DRS has now been enabled, so drivers can open up the rear wing on the back of their car and try to gain an advantage and possibly make a pass on the opponent ahead of them. Rotation right now is chasing down Isaac Kush, who finds himself second in this race. Ferg is behind Rotation, Josh 2 a little bit further back than he'd like to be. Sweet Crown 19 also a little bit too far back. Andon in 7th position ahead of Kurt Valletta. Jerome Vasseur in 9th. And there is Dream Indigo rounding off the top 10. He's got Callis right behind him. Feral Fury is on the charge in the Haas car in 12th position. Duwill in 13th. Eklund behind him, chasing him down. Also Jamian in 15th position. Another penalty has been picked up. This time it's Total Peas, who finds himself in last. He's picked up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Nonetheless, though, coming now, a big lockup from somebody right there. Not too sure who that was. It was one of the cars in 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. But nonetheless, here we go. The first round of DRS is about to come for these drivers as we're going down the straight, and we'll see if we see any passes. DRS opens for the Alfa Romeo. Behind is Isaac Kush, who does not have the DRS. And there's going to be no pass, but now, as we see there, Isaac Kush, a bit of a sitting duck with the fact that he doesn't have that DRS to play with. He is not able to possibly keep the advantage up ahead of Rotation. Rotation could be looking at a pass for second in the near future on that medium compound tire. We expect these drivers to go towards around lap 12 or 13 before we see them decide to make pit stops in this race.
Yep, I'm thinking in Duwill. Fighting it out with the Eklund, it looks like. They're still staying very close. Now, Duwill and Knight both on the hard tires, so they're both looking to do the alternate strategy just to get back on that, potentially looking at a hards to softs. So expect to see their names up the grid once all these pit stops start happening. But, oh, hang on, I think Rotation is still sticking very close to Isaac Kush. But, of course, Ferg on the soft tires is doing a very good job keeping up with them as well. But now we've got the Williams that I think are starting to get involved in that battle as well, which is Josh 2 and Sweet Crown 19. Taking their time, but as we know, they're always keen for the battle and keen to get the overtake done once the right opportunity comes, and we might actually see it in this next lap with the help of DRS once again.
Already 2 drivers with 3-second time penalties. VR46 Urano picks up his first, so surprisingly a lot of track extension warnings. Knight picks up his first 3-second time penalty. Now that's 7 seconds. Of course, he hasn't made his first pit stop yet, but he will serve that 5 seconds, and it will just be 3. But already some drivers picking up track extension / corner cutting penalties early on in this Grand Prix. Only picking up too many of those because we don't expect many drivers to pick them up, given that the track limits are rather lenient here for most parts of the track. There's not a lot of locations to cut any corners. We're riding on board of Rotation, though. You can see right there on the nose cone camera right there, so very close to the rear diffuser of that AlphaTauri. Rotation putting on a charge. Now Josh 2 side by side with Ferg, and Josh 2, a little bit of a sneaky devil right there, making a pass on Ferg up in the 4th position. We didn't catch that one, but then again, we expect it. Ferg on that soft tire. This is about the end of his lifespan for this strategy. Lap 5, lap 6, those soft tires are going to really start to lose their competitive edge compared to the medium tire runners. So we definitely expect Ferg to be making a pit stop in the next couple of laps and putting on possibly medium tires, if not hards. I think hards might be the better strategy, given that this is going to be he's going to be kind of caught in the tailwind here when they decide to make pit stops. I think people are going to be doing medium to hards till the end of the race. That is my predicted strategy that they're going to go for. I think they still want to do the one stop, so I think that Ferg should go on to the hards till the end and save himself another pit stop. He might find himself in a comfortable position, and there goes Sweet Crown 19 ahead of Ferg. So Ferg really in trouble right now, down to 6th on the grid. He is behind Sweet Crown 19. He's very close to him. He might be able to make a move, but no, Sweet Crown 19 actually gaining on him, and that is going to be it. I think Ferg is going to be looking at a pit stop right now. If not, maybe a little foolish, in my opinion, to stay out that much longer. But no, he's going to stay out. But he's getting past pretty quickly. He does have drivers behind him on soft tires, so that is a bit of a solution for him. But already we see 2 drivers on the softs making their pit stops. I think that, if anything, now is the final time. Callis, though, is going side by side with Indigo, but he wasn't able to make it ahead of him. Now going for the switchback on the inside, coming into the downhill chicane right here. Still side by side, now on the outside of Indigo. Can he make the move happen? No, he cannot. Indigo stays ahead. A bit of a squirm from the rear, though. Callis looking to put some pressure on the new Renault driver, that reserve Renault driver Indigo, looking for a strong finish in his first race here in Division 1.
Yep, and I've been watching this battle. It's great to see. Dream Indigo was stuck behind Jeroen Visser for quite some time, but now that Jeroen Visser did go into the pits to get a fresh set of medium tires on, it opens the door now for Dream Indigo to start closing that gap up on Andin, and even Ferg, who's now really fallen down. The gap has really grown between himself and Sweet Crown 19. So I would expect position 6 and 7, Ferg and Andin, to dive into the pits at the end of this lap. But now behind Dream Indigo we have Callis, but Feral Fury is keeping very close, and we might see a move here. Actually, maybe not now, because Callis is just gaining that much more down the back straight.
Oh no, here we go. Callis diving on the outside of Indigo, and he's still on the outside of him. Now putting back on the power, he's, a bit of a squirm of the rear from there. And Andin diving into the pits, Ferg diving into the pits. Indigo has a really wide line off, and now Callis is going to challenge, coming in the turn 1 around the outside. Is he going to make the move? Yes, before turn 1. Callis in the 6th position. Indigo has some problems, a mistake out of the final turn, and he's lost the position there to Callis, and now he's going to have to make that back up, and now he's got Feral Fury right behind him as well, who might be looking to get in on the action.
What a battle this has been between Dream Indigo, Callis, Dream Indigo, and now Feral Fury, as I said, looking to get involved, and now even Eklund is looking to get involved as well. But back up the order, I see rotation very, very close to Izat Kush. The gap is only half a second behind, so I think in terms of potentially this team play, with rotation keeping pressure on Izat Kush, it's making the AlphaTauri driver maybe focus a bit more on the driver behind and less on the driver ahead, which is allowing rotation's teammate Schiaparelli to just continue on his race, grow his lead. As we have a yellow flag in the end of sector 2. I don't think there was anything happening there, but no, I think there's a little bit of teamwork happening with the Alfa Romeos, as rotation is just putting pressure on Izat Kush and maybe making him look a little bit more behind than forward to allow Schiaparelli to just take the lead and grow that gap.
Here we go, about 0.4 of a second separating the two drivers now on that start-finish line, but you see now a bit of a DRS train starting to form. The big thing for Schiaparelli is he got a fantastic start in the race and already picked up over a second even before the DRS was turned on. So that was very crucial for Schiaparelli to continue to grow this gap, because Izat Kush does not have this DRS advantage that he'd like to have in order to increase a gap to rotation. Nonetheless, though, we're on lap 8 of 28. Nobody is on the soft tires anymore. They've all made their pit stops. Ferg has gone on to the hard tires, as I'd expect him. He doesn't want to be making another pit stop later on into this race with the medium tires on him. So Jeroen Visser, though, has gone on to the mediums. So that is an interesting call. We'll see how it works out for him. A few drivers on the hards right now. Kurt Valletta and Andin. And, of course, Knight on hards, but of course he started on those tires, so do Will. started on the hard compound tire. Andon is making a pass on his teammate Kurt Valletta. Hennis made the pass rather easily, so not too much battling going on in the Racing Point camp. Those two drivers staying pretty tidy with each other. Andon ahead of his teammate Kurt Valletta into 17th.
So, excuse me, Dream Indigo and Callis going nearly side by side down this back straight. It looks like Dream Indigo just has a little bit more pace and will get the overtake done.
Ooh, but a pass on the outside, it looked like still for Callis, who was trying to dive around the outside. That's allowed Feral Fury now to maybe get involved in an overtake here. And look at this battle. Callis and Indigo have been going neck and neck, lap after lap after lap. And it's been a very exciting battle to watch so far. But nonetheless, as you said, Dream Indigo getting ahead of Callis and going up back in the 6th position.
Yeah, but I mean, given the DRS train and given the gap now between Dream Indigo and the driver ahead, which is Sweet Crown 19, I think we might just see a little bit of overtakes every lap with the help of DRS, just as the driver behind getting that slight extra speed boost down that long back straight. But
actually, Dream Indigo is getting a bit of a gap, actually, about 0.7 of a second now to Callis. So Callis is going to want to keep up the pace because he does not want to get caught up with Feral Fury and Eklund behind, because they have shown to be very feisty so far in this Chinese Grand Prix. He's going to definitely want to keep DRS, but he's now 0.9 of a second back. He's maybe starting to lose a bit of pace on that medium tire. And now he's outside of a second now, so if he doesn't catch up and get in within a second, he's not going to have DRS on this lap. This is not good. He's now in striking distance with Feral Fury and now Eklund. And Callis actually goes very wide out of the banked turn right there. Now Callis might be losing another position here. Here comes Feral Fury with the DRS. He's not using any ERS, but he's going to dive on the inside, coming into the hairpin. Callis is going to go side by side of him around the outside, but just superior grip levels for Feral Fury. Callis still has a bit of inside time into the car there, but he doesn't have it happen. Callis, though, will try the challenge back with Feral Fury. Now he's going to have the DRS on the start-finish line. Can he try to challenge back in the turn 1? He's going to look to make a move around the outside, but that might compromise him a little bit. Feral Fury is going to keep ahead for the moment. He's trying, but now Eklund is going to try to make a move, and oof, just getting cut off by the McLaren. But Callis now down in 8th position behind Feral Fury. He had a bit of a problem out of the banked turn before the DRS straight, and that allowed Feral Fury to really make a pass up in the 7th position. Callis down the 8th, and now he's got Eklund behind him. And we'll see how that works out for him. But meanwhile, that's allowed Dream Indigo to get further ahead by about a second.
Yep. Now, just looking back, a little bit of an update at the top of the grid.
Ooh, look at this.
Leading the way.
Knight and Ferg having a bit of a battle, and Ferg just gets ahead of him.
Okay, perfect. I mean, oh my goodness, sorry, just Isaac Kush actually disconnected from the session is where I was trying to get at. So if you're seeing him fall down the order, he's down into 5th now, and that is the reason why, as his car has been taken over by a ghosted AI, which has allowed Josh 2 and Sweetcar 19 to overtake relatively easily to go up into 3rd and 4th.
So meanwhile, Feral Fury has made a pass on Indigo into the hairpin. So Feral Fury very quickly making up some positions. Indigo trying to make a challenge back on the outside, gets cut off by Feral Fury. And now, contact between the two! Indigo losing the braking zone, or maybe Feral Fury braking too early. But nonetheless, there's contact between those two. But Feral Fury continues on. So that's, it looked like Feral Fury had a spin out, but Indigo into the pit lane. And that is it possibly for Indigo, because now he's going to be making a pit stop in 14th position onto his set of hard tires. And that was a big incident right there, and you're going to definitely see the stewards look into that one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, I'm not too sure if that was just a racing incident or what really had happened there. I jumped on board with Indigo right at the end, just as the contact seemed to happen. But really, I don't see any reason why that would have happened. But luckily for Dream Indigo, with the way the contact made him bounce, it basically backed him up right into the pit lane. So crucially, he did not have to lug around another full lap with that broken wing and lose out on even more time than what he already had after the incident.
Now, when I thought Feral Fury had a spin round as well, because it looked like the back end had come out of him, so I'm not too sure. But nonetheless, Feral Fury is continuing on. He's in 5th position, so I guess he got a little bit unscathed from that contact.
Yeah, it looks like it. I didn't quite get to see Feral Fury's spin. It looked as though it was just a little bit of contact with Dream Indigo spinning and Feral Fury just continuing onwards. But definitely...
Oh, Suicune into the pit lane. So Suicune pit stop for him. Josh 2 stays out, so we'll see. Of course, I expect Suicune to go on to the hard tire and continue on with most of the other drivers in this strategy. And yes, hard tires going on for the Williams driver. Now, where does he come out in the pit lane? Oh, there's still a bit of a... Oh, no, that was a little lag. Sorry, I thought there was a hold up in the pit lane. He's going to come out. Ferg is going to get ahead of him in the pit lane, though, so that is pretty crucial. Ferg is on pretty new hard tires. He's going to go till the end of the race. We'll see if Suicune 19 can make an easy pass, or is he going to have trouble with Ferg?
Yeah, so I think that's very crucial for Ferg's strategy, because he was ahead of Suicune 19 previous to taking his pit stop. So crucially, that strategy is still working out for him, albeit on 4-lap older tires than Suicune 19. So now it's a matter of, as you said, who's going to have the better pace advantage. Is it going to be Ferg on those slightly more used-in hard tires that he's gotten a few laps and gotten the heat, or will Suicune 19 have that pace on that fresher set of tires? But that remains to be seen. Now, I did see Isaac Kush did connect back into the session, and it looks as though he does have control of his car. So he is back in racing, but it feels as though the damage has already been done, as he's all the way
side
down
by side,
in 11th.
Eklund and Callis. I don't have any split time, so I just caught it. But Eklund up in the 5th, Callis down the 6th position. So Callis into the pit lane now. He follows Feral Fury, looks like, into the pit lane. So is Josh 2. So pit lane starting to come. A reaction to Suicune 19. It's actually right on board of Suicune. He's just gone ahead of Ferg, so he's gone ahead of the Ferrari driver. Crucial for him. He's going to come out of the pit lane. It looks like he's going to get ahead of everybody here. So Suicune getting a big jump on the rest of the pack of that undercut. That was crucial for him. But Suicune 19 getting ahead of all those drivers who decided to stay out.
Yep, and he'll slot in right behind his teammate. But now, equally, the Alfa Romeos of Schiaparelli and Rotation have both opted to stay out for at least one more lap. So they're going a little bit longer on those medium tires compared to the rest of the field. And so are Eklund and Jamie 1 for that matter, and Carter as well. So this will make things interesting for the Alfa Romeo team to see who's gonna pit first out of the two. Is it gonna be Schiaparelli or is it gonna be Rotation? And how is that going to affect, or how is that going to affect the positioning with the likes of Suicune 19, who's got a little bit of clean air, has his teammate even for support ahead of him to try to really push that gap and make a fight for the
rotation into the pit lane. So I'm actually a little surprised by this. I would have thought Schiaparelli would have made the pit stop. Usually it's the driver who's fastest in the qualifying session who decides to make that pit stop ahead. But nonetheless, Rotation decides to do it before. So now Schiaparelli's going to have to really gun it, because he's going to have to make his pit stop and try to get ahead of Rotation, who will surely be coming out onto the hard tires. Yes, hard tires for Rotation. Those are brand new hards for him. Where does he come out in relative to everybody else? Is he going to get ahead of Josh 2? He is going to get ahead of Josh 2, so Rotation has no problems. The only drivers ahead of him are drivers who have not yet made pit stops. So we'll see how Schiaparelli does when he decides... Oh, so Fion's out. So that's a safety car, and that has saved Schiaparelli.
Oh, so Sophion... Yep, so save Schiaparelli to basically allow a free pit stop. Eklund as well, but just looking at the placement of the car, I think Sophion may have cut the last corner either a little bit too much or gone a little bit too wide on the exit, clipped the curb, lost the back end, and crashed the car on that inside wall on the left-hand side of the start-finish straight. So he's out, and now we're under safety car, and I would not be surprised to see Schiaparelli dive into the pits right now at the end of this lap under safety car to get that fresh set of probably hard tires on to take to the end of the race.
Now, we can't assume anything. We would expect that, though, rotation may have been able to get ahead of Schiaparelli, but now there's no chance of that because with that safety car, that has stopped up the pack. There's rotation on the way back end of the DRS straight, and that's going to allow Schiaparelli to get a basically free pit stop. Eklund is far behind too, so is Will, so Schiaparelli may even get out of the pit lane and still be in first position, given that if Eklund decides not to pit, though Eklund will pit, and I presume Will do the same, given that he's the only driver yet to make a pit stop, and there he goes into the pit lane, but Schiaparelli is going to have a quick pit stop and come out in first. It is the dream scenario for Schiaparelli. Rotation will go into second position after the pit stops from Eklund and Will, but you got to think rotation was hoping that he'd find himself in the lead, of this race. Not back into the lead, but into the lead, but that's not going to happen for sure due to that safety car.
Yep, but now, crucially as well, Sweet Car 19 having pit just maybe 2-3 laps ago, going and taking another pit stop under the safety car in order to put on a fresh set of medium tires. So Sweet Car 19 using the pit stop to get that fresh set of boots, and while we have Schiaparelli and rotation sticking to their strategy going mediums to hards, Sweet Car 19 doing a little bit of a different strategy call, opting to put on that quicker medium tire, which looking at the lap count and assuming the amount of laps we're going to see under safety car, can definitely go to the end of the race. So we might see some overtakes from the championship leader on those medium tires. It's more of a matter of will he be able to overtake the cars and build enough pace to catch up to Schiaparelli and rotation, who are currently 1-2 come this safety car restart.
It's an interesting call for sure. We'll see if it works out for him. As you said, though, Sofian having an incident out of the final turn. He's crashed somewhere before the start-finish line, and we are under safety car conditions. FRL Schiaparelli leads this Chinese Grand Prix. Rotation his teammate in second position, possibly looking to make it in the first. But unfortunately, that safety car robbed him of that ability to possibly beat Schiaparelli to the pit lane. Josh 2 in third position. Eklund in fourth. Feral Fury in fifth position. So there's your top five. Will is on the newest set of medium tires, and he's only in sixth. So he's actually further ahead of Sweet Crown 19 right now, who went on to the same strategy, and I can't hear anything due to the fact my headphones just came out. So, but I can still talk. But nonetheless, it's very interesting of Will deciding to do that medium tire run.
Yeah, but Will did start on the hard tires as well. So Will is essentially running his one stop going hard to mediums rather than what I was assuming was going to be a hard to softs, just with the safety car coming out when it did. So it's essentially a one stop. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I feel bad, though, for drivers like Knight, though, because he did that same strategy, but he finds himself all the way down in 15th, virtually where he qualified in. So not really a huge amount of positions made up right there. He's only be scoring a single point at the moment. We'll see. The problem is everybody else is on that similar strategy for him. So for him, it's not really an advantage gained, and that really is due to when the safety car came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true, and I think, credit goes where credit is due for Will to have that nice stint on the hard tires, given that he and his teammate were both running that same strategy. But it looks like Will was able to make it work out a little bit better for him, maybe feeling a little bit more pace on the hard tires. But I would expect Will to be very punchy off the restart, similar to Sweet Car 19, as ahead of Will, it's a whole bunch of hard tire runners. The top five all put on the hard tires as, the safety car is coming in this lap.
Very quick safety car. So FRL Schiaparelli will back up the pack. He is the pace setter. And rotation in second position right there. Josh 2 in third. 4 for Eklund. There's Feral Fury. And there is Do Will, the man who could find himself maybe winning this race, given his advantage on the mediums. Given that we are under safety car, lap 17 will be the first true lap for these medium tires for him. He could have a big pace advantage over the other hard tire runners, who's for sure those hard tires may not be an optimal temperature range, given how hard it is to get them into operating window as it is on racing conditions. So here we go. Riding on board of Schiaparelli. We'll see when he gets the restart. He's still warming up, and here we go now. Back onto power, coming into the final turn, and here we go. Back under green flag conditions. A little wide for Josh 2 out of the final turn, but we are back under racing conditions nonetheless. I'm going to ride on board of Do Will, of course. He's on that medium tire, and we'll see how much of an advantage he can gain. Sweet Crown 19 has already made a pass on Jamian. Ferg has made a pass on Carter. Carter looking to maybe make a counter, cutting close to the curb, but not able to have it happen. Carter in an 11th position. Pretty impressive for him, given where he qualified from. Indigo and Knight are having a bit of a battle, but it is a battle that Knight has lost for the moment, so we'll see if he can make a counterattack on Indigo. He's going to look on the inside, but stay behind him nonetheless for the moment. Isaac Kush going side by side with VR46 Yarno, and there was a bit of a glitchy amount of contact there, but it was not actual contact nonetheless. Isaac Kush is behind Yarno for the moment. But Schiaparelli leads this Grand Prix. Pretty much no overtakes at the restart there, which was interesting. So the big question is now for Do Will, does he have the pace to make a pass? He has to stay ahead of drivers like Callis, though. That might be possible, given the fact that Sweet Crown 19 is right up the rear diffuser of that McLaren. We could be seeing a pass pretty quickly from the Williams driver on the McLaren.
Yep, and Sweet Crown 19 already thinking about making a move. He was using some ERS not too long ago, making a lunge down the inside here, and it looks as though with that inside line he will get the overtake down on Callis, but
Callis has an inside line. Ooh, this is going to get very close, and it's almost a flashback to just a year ago between Josh 2 and Sweet Crown 19, I believe, and Sweet Crown 19 having that outside lane coming into the final turn. They're still side by side through turns 1 and turn 2, still side by side. Who's getting better traction? It looks to be Sweet Crown 19, who finally gets ahead of Callis, who almost makes contact with the rear diffuser, but Sweet Crown 19 gets ahead of him, and that is a definite WSR flashback from almost the beginnings of WSR. Is not the oh my god, WSR, ISRL. Oh my goodness, that's even more of a flashback. The fact that I said that. We are having problems up in the frontal lobe right now of ISRL X's brain. But nonetheless, Sweet Crown 19, I was making the intro that I made for Twitter, and I just used an overtake that was so very similar to that of Josh 2 and Sweet Crown 19. But I'm sure I'm going to get reamed in the DMs later on by Knight for that little fluke right there. But nonetheless, Sweet Crown 19 now all over the back of Do Will. Do Will has not had the restart he would have liked to have had, given that he is on that fresh set of medium tires. Sweet Crown 19 is all over him, so Sweet Crown 19 is the man who looks to try to gain the advantage here on these medium tires. He's side by side of Do Will well before the hairpin, and is ahead of him well before the hairpin turn.
Yep, and right behind Ferg on those fresh set of medium tires did overtake Callis, as rotation takes a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So expect to see 3 seconds added to rotation's time by the end of the race, which could potentially affect the positioning given how close all the drivers are to one another here with this safety car restart.
Isaac Kush has gone fastest on track, meanwhile, for 132. So he is flying, but unfortunately he's flying all the way down in 18th position, most likely outside of any possible contention for even a top 10 at least. We'll have to wait and see as we move further on, but we're about to get into the final few laps of this Chinese Grand Prix. Schiaparelli still leads it ahead of rotation. Josh 2 in 3rd position, Eklund in 4th, Feral Fury in 5th position, and Sweet Crown 19 ahead of Do Will, who has just not been able to pick up the pace on these medium tires and now is under pressure from Ferg.
Yep, and we have a huge battle going on here in the midfield all happening crucially behind Carter, with Andin, Kirk Valletta, sorry, getting involved, with Dream Indigo, Knight, Total P's going side by side now. And I think he's at Kush even getting involved with this.
Ooh, Knight's getting close. He's in that similar position where he had that spin out. And yeah, let's grind on board if he's at Kush. His rear diffuser is going to open up right there. There's the DRS flap opening up for him. He's behind ISRL Knight, but he's got a lot more speed than Knight. Knight, though, is going to look to make a move on the outside. And, oh, some contact. He's at Kush trying to go back around the outside. And now we've had a problem for one of the racing points. That looks to be Kurt Valletta.
I think.
Yep, Kurt Valletta's had problems, and now Knight. Oh, look at that. Was Kurt Valletta went into the pit lane. So does he have damage on that racing point? Not too sure. Nonetheless, Knight, though, made a bit of an inside move, essentially. And now look at this on the inside. Azak Kush, who had a big dive right there. Now Knight looking for the switchback, coming into the hairpin. But I think Azak Kush is going to be the driver with the superior traction. And yes, he is. Now, is it morning or is it nighttime? I feel like, oh, it's Total Peace off the track into the wall. And he's out of this race, it looks like. Kurt Valletta has retired in the session. But Total Peace, safety car deployed. That's a safety car deployed, and Total Peace has lost his front wing. He had a problem out of the exit of the turn. He clipped too much of the curb, and that is it for Total Peace right there in terms of a successful race, possibly, because that is a big front wing loss right there. Thankfully, he's still in the race, so he can try to finish it. But that was a big crash, and that's a safety car deployed, and this has thrown everything into the mix right now, I believe.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out if you're on the hard tires, but especially with the front runners, do you want to take a pit stop to get on a bit more of an optimal tire, or do you just want to keep track position in order to hold on to the position you already have? Because, of course, everybody is already bunched up from the previous safety car. So if you're going to be taking a pit stop here, you're going to end up falling probably all the way down to the bottom of the grid order.
No, so Shepelelli in rotation decided not to make pit stops. So I think that everybody will stay where they are. It is getting gloomy here. It's almost looking sinister out on track right now, given with the clouds and the fact that it's morning time. The buildings in the background of Shanghai, it is getting very musty out here at the Shanghai International Circuit, but nonetheless, we're under safety car in the final few laps of this Chinese Grand Prix, so it's going to be all-out war towards the end here, but this does not help rotations matter at all. Given he picked up that 3-second time penalty, he's going to be in a bit of trouble right now. This is probably the last thing he would like to have happen right now, in fact.
Yeah, definitely not what he was hoping for, is now here on lap 21, probably going at least lap 22, maybe even lap 23 if the safety car decides it wants to stay out for a little bit longer. Everybody's going to be bunched together, and that doesn't leave too many laps to try to build a gap to try to keep that P2. So really not what rotation was hoping for. Now, I'm looking here at the bottom of the grid. I'm not necessarily as surprised seeing the likes of Jamie 1, ISRL Knight, VR46 Yarno, and Total Peace putting on the soft tires. Really, they've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So I think it is a good strategy call from them, so as long as they can take those soft tires to the end of the race, because of course, as we discussed previously, the soft tires do not last all that long here around this circuit at all. So depending on when the safety car does decide it wants to come in, it might make things a little bit difficult come the end of the race, even if they are able to get some overtakes done early on come the safety car restart.
We'll see how it works out for them. We're under safety car, as we have said before. Shapelelli in the lead with rotation in second. Now, this is very crucial for Sweet Crown 19 because he's going to be well backed up with everybody. He's on those medium tires, which will surely have the better grip still at the moment. Can Sweet Crown 19, I really hate to say it, but can Sweet Crown 19 find himself maybe... I don't know if he can necessarily win this race given the amount of laps left, but possibly find himself on the podium given there is that penalty of rotation. He only really has to make one pass, or at least two passes, it looks like. He'd have to pass both Josh 2 and Eklund, but that is very possible.
Yep, definitely. I mean, it's definitely a possibility, especially with Sweet Crown 19 being on the more favorable medium tire. But of course, depending on how the tire wear is treating Sweet Crown 19, given the fact that he did have to get a few overtakes done on circuit, did have to fight a few battles along the way, so maybe a little bit more tire wear on his tires compared to Eklund, who's on that harder tire, doing a little bit better off. But of course, under safety car, they're going to be a lot harder to get into that optimal temperature. Even more so now with the glooming cloud cover that we're seeing now. We won't have the sun shining on the circuit, having that heating up the asphalt that much more to help with the tire temperatures.
So we will see, but nonetheless, Sweet Crown 19 is in 5th position. So he's in a pretty comfortable position to possibly pick up maybe a podium. The sun is starting to come back out a little bit more on track, so what was a very gloomy Chinese Grand Prix is now a little bit lighter. And safety car is in this lap, so lap 23 of 28. We will get back under racing conditions.
Yep.
And Stunik saying, I'll change my Discord name to Noah is the GOAT if Sweet Crown podiums. I don't know if he can do it. Well... All right, Sweet Crown, I've never really pushed you this hard to get a podium, but I want this. I want this big ego boost. So, Sweet Crown, get yourself on the podium, buddy. I want it to happen. So, Sweet Crown, it's going to be interesting. We'll see if Stunik eats his words. Now it's become personal for me in the commentary booth. Let's get going and set for action. But nonetheless, we'll keep up with Shepalelli, who is in first. Let's get going. It's lap 22, going to be 23 on the restart of this Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, holding up the grid a little bit more than last time. It looks like already the safety car into the pit lanes.
And Shepalelli getting away pretty early on in this session. So here we go. Under safety car restart. Shepalelli gets a fantastic restart on his teammate rotation. Again, who is now under pressure from Josh 2. Sweet Crown 19 riding on board of him already on the back of Eklund a little bit. Eklund not getting really the good start he would have liked to have gotten. So we'll see how the medium tires hold up under what the current lap, what the wear is on the tires. Oh, he's already getting close to... Look to get on the inside of Eklund. Come on, Sweet Crown. I want this Discord name change. Let's do it. But nonetheless, Josh 2 has dropped back a little bit from rotation. Actually, Shepalelli has lost some time. So I'm not too sure if he made a mistake. Rotation with a big late break there, though. I don't know if that was too smart for him. That might have lost him a bit of time. But nonetheless, there's positions changing up and down the pack. Isaac Kush side by side of Andon. Looks like Jamie, and it looks like Knight getting into a battle with Total Peas. And oh my goodness, right on the rear diffuser of Total Peas. That was as close as it gets here in racing Formula 1 cars. Right on board with Eklund, though, as we'll see if he can get ahead of the Renault. He is about 4 tenths back. He is going to be in DRS range. So is Eklund. We'll see how much overtake. Oh, Sweet Crown's using a lot of overtake, actually. He's got a lot to play with. Eklund has some as well, and he's going to start using it now down the straight. Here comes Sweet Crown 19, though, using a lot of that DRS and that ERS. He's going to maybe make a move on the inside. Eklund just covers it very off well. That's great defending from the Renault driver. He got very, very close to the rear diffuser of him. So, nonetheless, into the final turn, Eklund now gets a bit of a jump ahead of Sweet Crown, who had to hold himself up, and there's some problems, some yellow flags, and look at this battle going down the order right here. Total Peas having a bit of a track-off excursion, and Knight losing... Oh, this Total Peas lost again his front... Oh, I thought he lost his front wing again. That would have been disastrous for him. Ferg and Feral Fury are having a bit of a battle side by side, and look at that. Ferg having to give up some position to Feral Fury, who's looking to make a dive on the inside. Ferg puts his car basically in the middle of the track. Impossible to make a pass. But nonetheless, VR46, Yarno and Andon having a battle. They're still side by side. Andon on the outside now, coming into the sweeping left-hand turn. And they will stay where they are for the moment, but Yarno lost a bit of time there as he went quite wide out of the exit of the turn. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize. My voice is starting to escape me. Carter is in 13th. He's under pressure from his teammate Jamie. And look at that dive from VR46 Yarno and gets ahead of Jamie. And what a move from the Ferrari driver. Big time scenes right there. Riding on board of Sweet Crown 19. I'm starting to lose my faith here that he's not going to get this podium. Come on, let's go. I want this. We want
with
this.
The gap from rotation to Josh 2 growing seemingly, but VR46 Yarno, right after making the overtake, Jamie 1 went right back down the inside and made the move.
Fastest
and now,
lap.
Side by side with Andon is VR46 now, but nope, VR is able to keep on that P15 with the soft tires. But yeah, rotation with the fastest lap.
With the fastest lap right there. And in 17th position, he's out of the points, but he might get he might take away that fastest lap point if he keeps it. He sets fastest lap for the moment. Total Peas goes into the pit lane, and that is it. Total Peas decides not to finish this race. He is done with this one, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster for Total Peas. Unfortunately, near the end, bringing out the safety car from that accident. The sun has come out, but it's not coming out for me. Where is this podium, Sweet Crown 19? Where is it? What happened to the Austria performance? Let's go. I know I'm showing some favoritism in the commentary booth, but that was only egged on by Stunik, so I take no responsibility for anything I'm saying right now, but I really want somebody called Noah is the GOAT in my Discord. So let's go. Sweet Crown 19, get on the pace. Let's see it. Let's see it happen. Or somebody else pick up another penalty. I don't know. Nonetheless, Schiaparelli still leads this race. We're moving on to lap 26 of 28. 3 more laps to go in this Grand Prix. Sweet Crown so close. Come on. Oh my goodness. Look at the gap between the two. Not able to make the pass. And Eklund now gets, again, that better exit, and now he's going to have a bit of an advantage, but let's see, not as much as he did before, so Sweet Crown's still in the mix. Eklund trying to chase down Josh 2, but Josh 2 is losing time more and more of the rotation, so even Josh 2 may even just stay on the podium. We'll have to wait and see. The gap would still be that Eklund would pick up a podium. Schiaparelli has still lost some time, though, to rotation. So maybe Schiaparelli might actually give up the position to rotation, even just because of the penalty, maybe help rotation out a little bit. That would, I assume, would be towards the end of the race, though.
Yeah, well, that's potentially could be a bit of a strategy call between the two of them to secure the 1-2 finish as well as the double podium, given the 3-second time penalty. But looking at the gap now between rotation and Josh 2, up to 2 seconds now as Andon retires from the session. Looks like he had an incident out of turn 4, so another victim of the Shanghai circuit here, as we're down to 16 runners here in the dying stages. And look at that, rotation and Schiaparelli going basically side by side one another down this back straight. I think Schiaparelli wanted to give up the position, but rotation just said, no, I'm all right, you can take it right back.
So interesting stuff going on here, but Eklund stays ahead of Sweet Crown 19. Sweet Crown 19 only has 2 more laps to make up this position, but with this battle...
Oh, hang on. It might just be in luck, as the rotation has a moment down the exit.
Yes, come on, Sweet Crown, go, let's go, back on the power, come on, forget it's rotation, that's a spin, I'm sorry. Let's go.
That's all right. Unfortunate for rotation, especially for the double podium and the points. But of course, for your excitement, the job is only half done, because now the penalty's out of the way. So Sweet Crown 19 really needs to get the overtake done within the next.
I have never been more excited to see a double Crimson Chin on the podium before than in my entire life. Let's go. But nonetheless, Schiaparelli.
Sorry, Dream Indigo. Oh, Dream Indigo and
oh my goodness! Big crash.
Here? Big crash.
That's Jamian's out of the race too.
Because that was, I think, Dream Indigo and your own Vasseur had a little bit of contact through that corner, and then through all of that, rotation got involved. He's out of the session. Jamie 1 got involved, and he's out of the session. It's all gone off here on lap 27.
Vladdy and Paylor, who I didn't even know was in the session, just left the session. Not too sure when he came into the fair. But nonetheless, oh, come on, keep up the pace. Come on, one more lap to go. Somebody pick up a penalty, please, please, please. We're so close. 4th position, but oh my goodness, that was a huge crash, and my favoritism is showing too much right now because I'm really excited about this, but nonetheless, Sweet Crown 19 with one more chance to pick up the podium unless somebody picks up a penalty in this top 3, but I don't think it's going to happen. But big crash right there at the end. Rotation and Jamian and Dream Indigo, who has no front wing, and that is just crazy. But this Knight's into the points, so that is great for him, and he's going to pick up that fastest lap point. And there's actually a bit of a battle going on between Carter and Yarno on this last bit, and that's surprising, given that Carter is pretty old, hard compound tires.
Yep, and now I think Knight as well kind of wants to get involved. It's more whether or not he can close up enough of a gap to get involved in that battle between Yarno and Carter. As Dream Indigo takes that penalty, speeding into the pit lane, looking to change that.
I think he's going to retire out of this race. I don't know if he knows he's going to score points, but nonetheless, he must be definitely frustrated with what happened there. And here we go. It's the final straight. And he doesn't have a lot to play with. Eklund does not have a lot to... Ooh, Eklund's out of ERS. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Sweet Crown 19 as well, so it's all down to DRS. No lunge, no dive bomb down into the hairpin.
so close, but no. Shapapalelli, though, is going to win the race. The Chinese Grand Prix goes to him. Josh 2 comes across the line. Oh, it was so close. Sweet Crown 19 finishing 4th behind Eklund. Oh, well, that was a good one. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Shame. But nonetheless, Shapalelli wins it. Josh 2 in 2nd, and Eklund finishes on the podium. A great race for him. But what a crash at the end there. Some drama at the end of this race. Dream Indigo finishing in 14th, so he is going to get some points on that soft compound tire.
Yeah, but now as we're waiting for Dream Indigo to finish up, he put on the soft tires, so potentially, as we may or may not be speaking too soon for that fastest lap point, as with that fresh set of soft tires, 1 lap to go, knowing he's got some secure points.
I don't think that. No, I think that he came out on the final lap on the soft.
Oh, okay.
I don't think this is. I mean, he's pushing it like it's the fastest lap. I don't think that he's going to get it though. Well, he's definitely not going to get it after that kind of a crazy rear end there. But that was a race, to say the least. That was a crazy race.
Oh my.
Oh, but I think he did set fastest lap right at the end there. I saw his name. He finishes 14th. He gets some points, and I think he just snatched it from Knight. Eklund getting driver of the day, rightfully so. What a drive from him. He finishes on the podium in this race, and begrudgingly, there's only 1 Crimson Chin on the podium. But nonetheless, Sephiroth Chappelle wins it. And Josh 2 finishing in 2nd, and Eklund finishing 3rd. There's your podium right there. The champagne flying from the champagne bottles. The not branded Shandong, though it is Shandong. I guess they didn't get enough of the rights to... Well, they actually, I don't think they can. Because it's alcohol. Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah, but I think
yeah,
we just...
Yeah, it's just milk, apparently. Yeah, milk and... But nonetheless... Shapalelli wins it. Josh 2 in 2nd, Eklund in 3rd, Sweet Crown 19 in 4th, 5th for CRL Ferg, Feral Fury in 6th, Duel in 7th, Callis in 8th, 9th for Jerome Vasseur, Carter in 10th, 11th for Knight, Isaac Cush in 12th, 13th for Yarno, 14th for Dream Indigo, Rotation in 15th, 16th for Jamian, Andon in 17th, 18th for Total Peas, Kurt Valletta in 19th, and Sophion in 20th. And that is your 3 DNFs, Total Peas, Valletta, and Sophion. That was a crazy race with that final lap accident right there. That was a race, to say the least.
Oh yeah, definitely a race. But to be quite honest with you, given what we saw in Division 3, given what we saw in Division 2. with the excitement that we saw in Division 1, I couldn't really expect anything less, because it's just been, so far, the Chinese Grand Prix has brought out just crazy racing.
I'm sure you'll get the invites rolling in. I'll get over to the showroom and
working on that right now to get them sent out.
So that is your Chinese Grand Prix. We're just going to get the interviews rolling in just a moment's time. Unfortunately, I do not get to have my name enshrined on somebody else. But it was still a great race to commentate. Very exciting, interesting race time, of course. Got some nice images. Efro Chappelle wins it. Rotation with some unfortunate luck there at the end with a spin. The first driver, though, who we get the interview, who is in the party right now, is Josh 2 in the Williams. Josh, you finish in second position. Talk us through that race.
Yeah, nothing much to talk about. I got lucky that Izzard got disconnected and that rotation spun into the last corner, and yeah, that's almost it. Nothing special that happened, and yeah.
All right, well, then that was it. Okay. Who else just joined? Who just joined?
I think that was Chapelelli that just joined.
Chapelelli, you're in there as well. Please come up with something more exciting than
well, hang on.
Josh
I've
2.
actually got a question for. I've got a question for Chapelelli.
All right.
So I was watching near the end, right before rotation's incident. It looked almost as though you were slowing down. What was going on there?
Yeah, that's when I almost bottled, but we don't talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we almost saw
Bottle
Ugly. All right.
I thought you were. I mean, I thought there was some strategy game going on just to let the teammates through. No, okay. All right, that answers that question.
Yeah, Chapelelli just watched now. Anyway, all right. So Chapelelli, give us your rundown of that race. Josh 2 apparently couldn't think of anything. Talk us through that race, though, and how you found yourself in the win. I mean, it was pretty easy considering you got a free pit stop from the safety car. But, yeah, talk us through that one.
I mean, I did have to get a good start because of Ferg was on softs behind me, but after that it was straight on. I would have preferred no safety car because I had that gap, but then me and Rotation just tried to push out of the 3-second gap to Josh. Because he had a penalty, but then he bottled, so I tried to get a fast slap then.
Yep, and is Eklund in here? I'm not.
No,
I don't.
No, Eklund is not in here. Of course, your teammate didn't even finish the race because he had a huge accident at the end there. You guys didn't see it, but there was a huge, like 3 or 4 car crash at the end of the race near the back, and Rotation didn't even finish the race. So did Jamie and didn't finish the race either. So a big crash there at the end. I'm sure we're going to have to review that tomorrow in the steward's room. That's going to be fun. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, Chapelelli wins it. Josh 2 in second, and Eklund, who's not here, but he did finish in third. That is your top 3 for this Chinese Grand Prix. And you've been watching live coverage of Division 1, and we move towards the third round of the championship. A great race here at Shanghai. My name has been ISRL Esports. You're joined by Fallen Monkeys, and thank you so much. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want to get in on the action, you can go to ISRLesports.com and go to the Discord server and find out all the information about all of the leagues and games that we run. And it's going to be a great year for 2021, I'm sure, for ISRL Esports. ISRL Esports presented by IFEA, Jackson Protection Agency, and IMB Racewear. Thank you so much for joining us, and have yourselves a wonderful night.